think we're ready to start the meeting. Calling to order the March 2026 meeting of the Federated Employees Retirement System and Healthcare Trust. We'll begin with a roll call of Vice Chair Faulkner.
Here.
Trustee Abbott.
Here. Recording in progress.
Trustee Chandra.
Here.
Trustee Chi.
Here.
Trustee Linder. I'm just told he might be attending remote. We'll come back to him. Trustee Nakagawa.
Here.
And Chair Horowitz is here. And we have quorum, so we can begin the meeting. However, if we do have remote participants, all votes will be roll call votes. Orders of the day, we do have for consent calendar item 13C, Yvonne Garcia has rescinded her deferred vested application. And I understand Trustee Linder is now present. Trustee Linder.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Linder is present. And with that, I will ask council to qualify our remote participant.
Thank you, Chair Horowitz. Trustee Linder, is the location where you're teleconferencing from the same address that is posted on the agenda?
Yes, it is.
Is the location from where you're teleconferencing from ADA accessible and open to the public?
Yes.
Have you posted the agenda outside of the location from where you are teleconferencing so that it can be seen by the public?
Yes, it's on the front door.
If a member of the public wishes to be heard from your location, can they be heard?
Yes.
Trustee Linder has been qualified under the Brown Act teleconferencing rules and may participate remotely. All votes must be roll call votes today.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So we are going to change up the agenda order today for a number of reasons. The first item is a ceremonial item, and the person who is the recipient of that ceremonial item is not present at the moment, but I understand he will be here later. So we're going to move ceremonial item to a later point in the agenda, and we will also deal with item 4, which is item 3, which is investments a little bit later in the agenda. At this time, then, do we need approval for the consent calendar? I believe we do. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any public comment? We can vote. Roll call vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Consent calendar is approved. And then we will have a brief closed session item, but first I will take public comment, general comments. These are comments that are under the jurisdiction of the board, for items under the jurisdiction of the board, but which are not otherwise on the agenda, and speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone present or online who wishes to address us? We do not have anyone, so we will proceed to the next item, which is a brief closed session item. So let us adjourn to the closed session room. Okay, we are back in open session, and there are no reportable items from closed session. I think now we will proceed to agenda item number 2, death and survivorship. This time, we will have a moment of silence for those who have served the city and who have passed. Thank you. And we will hold in abeyance item 3. And there is no items under 4, so we'll move right to new business, which is an oral update from the CEO, Mr. Flynn.
Good morning, everyone. Tuesday night, the San Jose City Council met until after 8 p.m. on the mayor's March budget message for fiscal year 27, with over 180 members of the public present to comment before City Council even began their deliberations on the budget, on memos to be included in the March message. Some of the key takeaways for this board is the city faces another general fund shortfall estimated at $56 million in fiscal year 27, with an additional $27 million projected in fiscal year 28. Some of the stated reasons was slowing revenue growth across property taxes, sales tax, and commercial development. The budget message did, however, acknowledge that the retirement plan's unfunded actuarial liability programs are among the non-discretionary costs, which is good for our members, but also constraining for the city. I will include the mayor's March message on our next agenda. On some better news, the recruitments for our vacant benefit analyst positions have concluded, and we're excited to welcome our last 2 new analysts to our pension team, Ann Nguyen and Sylvia Mark, who joined ORS this past Monday. Ann holds a master's degree from Southeast Missouri State University and most recently worked at Corinthian Wealth Management as a financial operations and administrative specialist, where she supported retirement account administration, client onboarding, and account transfers. Sylvia holds a bachelor's degree from the University of California, Davis, and most recently worked at the Department of Healthcare Services as a lead recovery analyst, managing Medi-Cal lien cases and collaborating with attorneys, beneficiaries, insurers, and internal teams. With these 2 positions filled, I'm happy to report that after 9 challenging months, ORS permanent positions are completely filled and we are fully staffed again. We do have 2 overstrength positions that we're still working through. These are temporary positions until our fiscal year 27 budget can be approved both by you, the Police and Fire Board, as well as City Council. The program manager recruitment activities have concluded. ORS is working with a candidate, but the temporary nature of the overstrength position has made that a little bit of a challenge. We hope to have more information concerning the support of the budget requests in the coming weeks from the city manager's office. The overstrength deputy CIO position was put on hold while you completed the recruitment for our CIO, and I expect we will have more information on that recruitment at the next meeting. We've tentatively scheduled a JPC to meet on April 1st, and one of the agenda items there will be the investment compensation study, where Gallagher will present their report and recommendations to the committee. We have a scheduled quarterly retirement planning workshop for Federated members on May 14th from 1 to 3 p.m. I encourage anyone who's 1 to 2 years, it's a great, 1 to 2 years out from retirement, it's a great opportunity to understand what the next steps will be in your process. I think it was last month you approved for administration to move forward with our with our communication contracts, and we're in the process. Barbara is working to on contract language for our Boyer contract, and we are working with OER on our social salinator contract, which has to go out for union comments through OER. Strategic planning, I'm going to not give an update. We have a big agenda item later today. May only be a few words on the agenda, but it's an important part of the work we're going to do. Yesterday, we had a governance committee meeting. I'll let the chair of that go through that, and we can talk about it at that point. On the internal audit front, Baker Tilly has put together an audit plan validation worksheet and gathered inputs from ORS staff. These inputs from our previous audits and their statuses will drive the risk assessment process to help determine the audit universe going forward. We have a handful of internal audit items on today's agenda at the recommendation of the audit committee, like we've done in the past. We'll bring these as proposed complete items for the board to consider today. But going forward, Baker Tilly will validate items that staff are proposing for closure and review the appropriate documentation to close them out. Baker Tilly will present the internal audit status going forward. Member statements were distributed in February. I think I've mentioned WCAG, our ADA compliance, a few times at the board meetings, and what I would say is the work to come in compliance has been greater has been a greater lift than anyone would have expected. We have 100 documents that we're working on internally. We have 100 documents that we're sending out to have it professionally remediated. If you think about some of our more complex documents like our ACFR, our evaluation reports, these all needed to be remediated as they have, although they were completed before the deadline, they still live as our current document, which requires that they meet the ADA compliance. And so I just want to say a special thanks for the teams, the admin team, and the rest of the organization who have been tirelessly doing this on top of their normal workloads to bring us in compliance so that we can meet this deadline. Two save the dates that I think are important. One save the date that I think is important for you is CalPERS has relaunched their Principles of Pension Governance for Trustees. I don't have a location yet, but they have a save the date of August 24th to 27th. It's supposed to be a premier program for new trustees to really get them accustomed to the governance process of a retirement board. ORS is closed on March 31st in observance of Cesar Chavez Day. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Are there any questions from trustees? Any questions or comments from members of the public? There are none, so thank you very much. I believe that CalPERS training, they may not have an exact location, but I heard mention of Santa Barbara for that?
I can't confirm that.
No, okay.
I have reached out to the administration of the organizational part of CalPERS, okay, and I have not yet heard back. So as soon as I do, mm-hmm, I plan to share it with both boards, as I think it is a standard, a staple among mm-hmm trustees in California.
Yeah. I think August is also the time frame, hopefully it's not the same dates, for the Sackers Berkeley program, which is also highly rated and very popular for those who haven't taken it. So
I don't have those dates in front of me, but we can check.
Okay, just as if you're saving dates, August looks like it could be busy. Okay. Very good. Then we'll go to the next agenda item, 5B, which is an oral update from our City Council liaison, who I see for the moment is not present. So if not, we will move forward. We'll circle back if the Vice Mayor appears. We will go on to 5C, which is discussion and action to approve and execute an employment contract negotiated with our new Chief Investment Officer. So is there, who will present on that? Is it-
I would,
The contract is attached and it speaks for itself, and I'm happy to answer any questions that any trustees may have.
Okay. Are there indeed any questions from trustees? If not, I would like to welcome and congratulate our new CIO designate, Mr. Jay Kwan, who is present here in the room. And I don't know if he would like to say a word or two to us.
I think we should approve.
Chair Horowitz.
I was going
I'm
to say,
sorry.
choose wisely, they haven't voted yet.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. We still have a moment then to reconsider, but I will entertain a motion to approve the contract.
I think I feel very confident that I should make the motion to.
Very good, sir. That's a
Approve the
motion from
contract.
trustee Chandra. Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
I have a second, and I'll open that to any, before we vote, any public comment? There is none. Any trustee comment? Okay,
I would just comment that I think we have an excellent new CIO, and I'm really glad that Jay has agreed to be our CIO.
yeah, I'll add that clearly of all the candidates, we know Jay best. He's been with us for longer than any of us have been a trustee here at the plant. So we have complete faith and confidence that he will lead us to broad sunlit uplands. And with that, we will vote on the motion. Trustee Linder,
Aye.
Trustee Chi,
Aye.
Trustee Abbott,
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner,
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa,
Aye.
Trustee Chandra,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. It is unanimous. Mr. Kwan, you are now our new CIO designate. I believe your start date is April 13th, and we look forward to your tenure with us.
Thank you so much. I will do my hardest, try my hardest to earn your faith, earn your trust, and I know that the hard work of the team will be there to work in partnership with you all, and hopefully we can continue our run of success. I know, yeah, at least in recounting some of Prabhu's accomplishments, I was just amazed by all that he was able to do in 8 years through some pretty turbulent times. Hopefully my term is not quite so exciting, but equally successful. So thank you for your trust.
Thank you.
Good, thank you so much.
Welcome aboard, although you already are aboard.
Yeah.
You're just changing seats.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Excellent. We will now move on to item 5D, discussion, action, and approval of our strategic plan. And we have a presentation from Aon. And
Good morning, trustees.
good morning.
If we could start on slide 3, please. So you have seen a slide in the past. These are our strategic planning principles. Our aim today is to confirm direction on core components of the strategic plan so that staff can translate that direction into actionable plans with clear measures and accountability. Important reminder, the plan is intended to be rolling and you'll receive periodic reporting so progress is visible to you. And the goal is to keep the plan current as conditions change. So we could go to slide 5. So the roadmap is sequenced to move from board approval of direction to staff execution with accountability. Today, we are going to ask for your approval on mission, vision, core values, key themes, and associated goals and objectives. And those goals and objectives, as I said, will be translated into action plans with measurable initiatives, milestones, and assigned accountability while aligning resources, capacity, and budget to priorities. So go to slide 6. After approval, the CEO will communicate the priorities organization-wide, and the strategic plan will become the decision-making framework. Implementation will begin as soon as possible with progress tracked using appropriate metrics and regular reporting to the board, and the model anticipates refresh. so that the board can refine priorities, refresh goals as internal and/or external conditions change, keeping that rolling planning model going. So on slide 7, today's materials reflect board and ORS's specific input gathered over several months of interviews, survey feedback, and discussion. And as I mentioned, we are going to present items to you today for your consideration, approval, or direction. We did present this yesterday to the Police and Fire Board, and they approved. But of course, if you have any feedback or differences, we are happy to take anything you give us into consideration and make adjustments. If there is a need, perhaps you could authorize the governance committees of the boards to resolve any language differences, or you could call a special joint board meeting to just take care of any remaining strategic planning items. So if we go over to slide 8, this is one of my favorite slides because it's just a quick snapshot and reminder of the different terminology that we use in strategic planning. So your mission states why you exist. Your vision states what future you're creating. The core values are how you will behave while you're getting there. The strategic themes are what you focus on, and those action plans are how you execute and measure. So the focus today is going to be on those upper levels, mission, vision, values, and themes and objectives, so that execution can be built underneath. So if we go to slide 10, please. So the mission statement provides purpose and objectives, describes what you do, who you do it for, benefit that you provide. It basically explains why you exist. So we listed the 2 current mission statements there. You see a lot of similarities between those. So if we move on to slide 11, you can see a proposed consolidated mission statement for your consideration. And I really want to thank staff for all their great conversation and feedback and cooperation in developing these items that we brought forward to you. So John, if you want to add anything at any point, please feel free. So you could see this is proposed. Our mission is to deliver accurate and timely retirement benefits and services while prudently managing the assets with integrity, accountability, and a long-term vision. I'm happy to stop here for any feedback, unless you want to hold your comments until the end. I'll take your direction.
Do we have any comments from trustees on the specifics?
Just maybe a question, just looking back to the original 2. In the Federated plan, it mentions, the idea of being a fiduciary in some capacity, and then the new statement doesn't include that. While I know prudently managing the assets entrusted to us is probably maybe a longer way to say that, but more of a curiosity why that maybe isn't included in the consolidated mission statement.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I do like the word fiduciary because that is fundamental to what we do. So I think that should be incorporated into the combined statement.
So it is one of the things we thought about. If we can go to page 13, jumping ahead in Julie's presentation, if you consider the mission, the vision, the core values as the foundation for the organization, for the boards, one of the things we recognized in the vision statement was to recognize fiduciary excellence. And so if you consider them as all part of the same foundation versus individuals, we try to incorporate fiduciary as being a big part of your roles, big part of mine and the staff's roles, as well as many of our supporting consultants.
Any other observation from trustees? I think before we vote on each one, let's go through the entire
please.
presentation, but I did want to pause it as we go through each of the statements. Trustee Nakagawa.
Just one quick clarifying question. So police and fire, when they approve they just approve their mission statement, not the consolidated one then?
No, maybe just to take a step back. Right now, each of the boards has separate mission statements. no vision and no vision statements and no core values stated. We're trying to get each board to approve a consolidated. So if you think about it from a staff perspective, the staff can rally around an individual mission statement, vision, and a common set of core values. So they did approve the recommended consolidated mission statement, vision statement, and core values.
Okay, thank you.
And the goals and objectives, but we'll get there too.
Okay, so we can go back to slide 10, I believe it was, that had the mission?
Yes,
Yeah, okay. And that was the separate ones in slide 11.
sorry, 11. Okay, perhaps once we get through the whole deck, you can take John's comments into consideration about, does the fiduciary thinking so that you can see it as a package. If not, we're happy to make any adjustments to the mission statement. And you're correct, prudently managing definitely is a fundamental core value of fiduciary duties. So we go to the next slide. I wanted to give you an idea of vision statements from your peers. It's aspirational. It talks about future direction and should provide a description of what you seek to create in the future. So examples from the peer public pension systems highlight being a model for excellence, trusted partner, and leader in public pension fund management. So if we go to slide 13, you can see the proposed combined organizational vision statement for your consideration. So to be leading public retirement system recognized for fiduciary excellence, innovation, and trusted member service. I can pause here if there are any comments or questions.
So I have a question, and this is, do we think that we as a pension system are innovative, are trying to be innovative in some way?
So
It's so funny. I'll let John answer because Susan Clark asked the exact same question.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, I chuckled a little bit because we get the same question yesterday. I think I gave a quipping comment. If we were presenting our innovation at the NVIDIA conference this week, I think we would be laughed out of the room from an innovation standpoint. But when we think about innovation, we want to think about it in the context of our peers. What are other pension funds doing as far as innovation? This is meant to be a visionary statement, right? This is where we want to go to, what we want to aspire for. And innovation isn't just technology, it's also innovative governance. It's innovative delegations of authority, right? So if we think about when the boards decided to delegate authority to our investment teams across of that, the expanding delegation that happened over the course of years, at the time that was probably very innovative. Today I think more and more pension funds are moving towards that model, which means that we were on the front of that curve. I'll leave it at that. That's what's meant by including the word innovative in the division statement, because I do think it is aspirational.
Any other trustee observations? I guess I'd like to join with Trustee Abbott. The two words that I'm uncomfortable with are leading and innovation. We have a very modest mission, which is to deliver pension benefits to our members. And going back to the previous page, there was a number of other peer pension plans that wanted to be the leading. I don't think we should be pursuing, awards as the leading pension plan, as the most innovative. We should pursue those policies that will deliver benefits to our members, full stop. We don't need to be the most innovative. In many cases, innovation may be a detriment. Innovation right now could be perceived as following a TPA style investment, which is not necessarily where we want to go. So I'm not really sure we should incorporate that into, a formal vision statement. I don't want to belabor this point either at great extent, because it's not something that is deeply meaningful to me. But I'm not sure we should be either a leader or an innovator. We deliver benefits, full stop. I don't know.
I think
It's-
we might, thinking about the leading, I think we want to be leading in terms of our results and where we are in quartiles and investment results.
I was going to say something similar. I don't have a thought on innovation, one way or the other, and probably am as equally emotionally invested in this as you appear to be. But as far as leading is concerned, I thought of it, I would want to be top quartile or top decile in benefits administration, in customer satisfaction, and certainly in investment performance. I'd like to continue to strive for top decile. So that was how I was interpreting leading. Is there a
Yeah.
word that incorporates how Trustee Abbott and more clearly defines leading the way Trustee Abbott and I are interpreting the word?
Yeah, I don't have a word, or I don't know, we want to wordsmith it here. Sounds like Trustee Chi.
I think leading this is a vision statement for like the employees, right? The organization.
Yes.
And I don't think we want to say, hey, you guys should just focus on the dirt. We want them to say, like, you want to be the best, right? You want to be
Yeah.
high performers.
I guess my concern with leading is investment performance. We can have the best investment performance, the highest returns, by having the highest risk. That's not necessarily where we want to go. So I think there's a couple of ways to interpret that that could be a negative.
I mean, why is that not risk-adjusted return? I mean, that's a very
Well, then you can-
interpretation.
Yeah.
I don't think that's at all pregnant in that word, right? Because it'd be
Then we need
risk-adjusted.
to extrapolate risk-adjusted leader, and then you kind of get into a
But-
too wordy of a thing.
Yeah, that's too wordy. I don't think leading necessarily needs to lead. I think taking too much risk would not be leading. I think that would be sort of conventionally support. Pension world's pretty
Right,
conservative.
so, I mean, all things within reason. Well, those are some of my concerns. I guess we can work our way through the rest of the presentation, and then we can vote on how we want to word this or interpret this.
Okay, thank you. If we go to slide 14, these are core values. So these are fundamental beliefs and guiding principles. And the top ones that came out through interviews and stakeholder feedback are accountability, transparency, integrity, service, and stewardship. We usually see 3 to 5 core values in other strategic plans. You could certainly pick your top 3, or if you're happy with these 5, keep it these 5, or if there are other ones you want to share, we're open to any feedback.
Again, trustees, any questions about these 5 core values? I'm not sure where it comes in terms of missions, values, or vision. We definitely did want to incorporate the fiduciary duty. And part of that, I think, is also recognizing that our fiduciary duty is exclusively for the benefit of plan members. I believe that is incorporated in state law, but I would love to have that incorporated into some of our official documentation. So I'm not sure where the most appropriate place to put that is, but I would like to recognize that. All right, if there's no further comments on the core values, let us proceed.
One more
sorry.
maybe before, just like what becomes like the cutoff point? Because I mean, you could list probably 20 words here. Like what, is there any particular thought on like a cutoff point of how many values are the right amount?
That's a great point. We really don't recommend more than 3 to 5. I mean, the idea is picture this as a package, and we want to make sure that it's transparent internally to all of staff. So, they can read the mission statement, the vision statement, and this is how we should be operating. So, so that they can do the elevator speech. These are how we operate. These are our top values. We could certainly have 100 of these, but, trying to put some core ones to be, reminders as you do your work every day, keep these things in mind.
Just for clarification, this is for the staff, so they're not fiduciaries. So stewardship is a better word for them.
I mean,
Yes.
They are not, they are.
some of the staff are fiduciaries.
fiduciary.
Right, correct.
Jay
That this
is
is-
now, Jay is a fiduciary.
Percentage-wise,
Sure.
it's tiny. So
Correct.
the staff, the staff is not a fiduciary, so that would be inappropriate. Stewardship's a good word for non-actual fiduciaries.
I
And-
wonder if service should be higher in our list.
Sure.
I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I thought it was
Yeah, it's not meant to be ranking, but we can move it up in the list.
It's just sort of my feeling that if, I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I think ultimately the service to our members comes first, and then to get there, we need to be accountable and transparent, and as we're doing that, and doing everything with integrity and stewardship.
Happy to do that.
I would, I think before we go into the goals and objectives, Julie, unless you object, I would suggest that we solidify the mission, the vision, and the core values. You could take this as one vote, or you could take them as separate votes. It's up to you, boards. But I would suggest that we finish that part of the discussion before we go into the goals and objectives. Are you okay with that, Julie?
Of course.
Great. And in furtherance of that, is it at all possible to have all three statements up on the screen at the same time so that we can see how they play with each other?
I can quickly do that.
Okay,
Just give me 1 minute.
all right.
Can I make a comment about that?
Sure,
Just to get
absolutely.
going while we're waiting for that?
Vice Chair Fox.
Back to the vision statement, I think I see it for what Anurag and Debbie said, and Spencer, kind of the perspectives, especially if you tie like leading public retirement system for fiduciary excellence, leading public retirement for innovation, leading for trusted member service. It's like two of those three, you probably certainly want to be in the leading, but then leading innovation, I understand that comment. So I like wordsmithing. I know most people don't, but just as a curiosity of like, it's what was a substitute word, and it kind of came up like, what about premier public retirement system, which then just kind of puts you at the top as opposed to like everyone else will follow you because you're going to make changes first. That would be my only, if this word matters much, like that's the hard part. But I think that premier might capture more of the context of what both views are trying to capture.
This is Mark Linder. Personally, I like the whole list that's been presented. I think that's really solid. The mission, the vision, and the values.
Okay.
And I would say that even though I question some of these things, I don't think that my questioning would be enough to make changes that would have us have to go back to the police and fire board and our board. It's good enough from my perspective.
Okay. I think I would land in the same spot. It was good enough from my perspective.
Okay, we have the good enough party voting in.
Better than the do-nothing party.
Yeah.
Not to mention the know-nothings.
Okay, I have this, if I could share my screen, is that possible?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, great. Can you see?
Not
No.
yet.
Okay,
Looks like it's doing.
It says it has started sharing. There we go.
There we go.
Okay,
let me make it larger.
okay, so the first is the mission, next is the vision, and then the core values is simply a list of 5 core values.
Yes.
Okay. Any further comments or inputs from trustees?
I would just say I love the phrase, the mission about long-term vision, because I think that is a key part of what we're trying to do. And we know we have, to try to increase the amount of funded that we have, and we're taking a very long-term view of doing that. And we're making progress as we move along, and this just really feels like that phrase resonates a lot with what I've heard through the last few years about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And it may sometimes seem slow as we, but there's no magic wand that all of a sudden gets us to a higher funded thing. It's hard work, long-term, but we're getting there and we're making progress. So I love that.
Again, I don't think we need to overly think this or overly wordsmith it. I think of all of these phrases, I think simply being recognized for fiduciary excellence sounds a little weak to me. I would say compliant with our fiduciary duty to perform exclusively for the benefit of plan members. I think that is a central and core North Star that should exist for the trustees and for the plan.
I actually am going to say that I like recognize, because I think when we do the ACFR every year, we're being recognized for what we do. I think we're known for I think we should be known to do the right things. So to be recognized is good, but maybe not in a public relations kind of award-winning thing other than our ACFR.
Yeah, recognition to me implies acknowledgement by others as opposed to something we're doing ourselves in compliance with our duties.
I think the
So
ACFR is a recognition.
Yeah.
So I know that was one of the things I was impressed with.
Where are you?
I'm in
No, I'm trying to understand where you feel like, so you feel like this is passive and it's not active?
Yes.
Okay.
And it also puts the onus on external operators as opposed to what we are doing ourselves.
Okay. To me, that's not significant enough to go back to police and fire. I think it's a cause and effect. The recognized is an effect of proactive behaviors.
Okay.
Yeah, and I see recognized as the people who receive the benefits recognize it.
Good point.
Okay.
I believe that was the intent behind that phrase, that you want your members to see you as providing fiduciary excellence.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about outside, but I do want the members to feel that way.
And then we did discuss moving service up into the post position under the vision. I'm sorry, not the vision, the core values.
Would that require police and fire?
No.
I would assume not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So we could slip that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we may attempt to spell a word that may need us to change the order anyway, like if we wanted to have I don't know what I can make of the letters in these 5 words, but think of a display that we put somewhere in the office that has a word spelled out.
Acronym?
Yes. So if the board would allow me the authority to reorder these to make it display worthy, I would appreciate that. No, and you should know that from a service organization, service is obviously important to us as an organization. For me, the integrity piece was also very important, but I'm not sure these are in an order of importance.
Well, if you put service at the top, it'd be status. That sounds like satisfaction.
Yes.
Let's give John,
You totally can.
Let's give him,
He has full acronym authority.
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Nakagawa.
Yes, can I jump in?
Sure.
I will wordsmith it a bit, I guess, since we're on the topic. For the mission, if I'm comparing the mission and the vision statement, like the mission statement starts as our mission is, whereas the vision statement just goes right into it. I would think we'd want to be consistent. If we change the mission statement, it should remove the word our mission. It should just go straight into to deliver, et cetera. Or again, if we're gonna add those, I would add it to the vision, right? Our vision is to, et cetera,
Exactly.
just for consistency. I think I agree with Spencer on the innovation part. I don't actually feel that should be part of the vision per se. I agree it's service, fiduciary excellence, maybe governance, throw in there or something, but I think those would be more core vision values, I guess. And I do see some redundancy with integrity and accountability. Those are core values, but they're also noted in the mission statement. I'm not sure, I feel like you could remove them from the mission statement and the mission statement still remains strong because it is a core value. That's kind of my take there.
Okay.
I would think the mission is more likely to be seen like on a website and seen
Yeah.
publicly, whereas the, whatever the 5 words are, that would be more like internal
values.
posted and, people come in every day and see that that's what they're focused on. And I like your symmetry. My 11th grade English teacher would be proud. But if that requires us to go back to police and fire, I will lobby
No.
against it.
It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't, okay.
Wow.
Okay. Woo-hoo.
One question maybe
Mhm.
to the board here is like, what are we missing? Because right, if we wordsmith, nothing really changes, right? I mean, I don't know how to say it. Like you're talking about fiduciary, but you could say it a different way, but it's still going to be interpreted kind of the same way. If you talk about, but if you think there's something that either completely shouldn't be there or is missing and should be there, seems like where this gets changed. Because again, otherwise, the interpretation to anyone's kind of the same if we just change some little words around here and there. So is there anything in that space that we have?
I would, go ahead.
No, I was just asking, you understood the question. Any like glaring omission, is that what you're asking? Okay.
Yeah.
I would throw out governance. I don't see that on there.
Okay. So
And what would
If I could, we do capture governance as one of the key themes that we haven't gone through yet.
You're talking about as part of the strategic plan, Julie?
Yes, yes.
I think, I mentioned it before, I think if there's an omission that I do see, it's acting exclusively for the benefit of plan members.
best interest of members.
Where we recognize that, probably in the mission or the vision, is up for debate. So to what degree do any of these changes need to go back to police and fire?
I would say if we're changing the order, that wouldn't matter. If we're introducing the vision statement to say, the vision is to be that, but if we make any changes to any of the sentiment or words, I would say that would need to go back to police and fire.
I would say back to, go ahead, Mark.
Was someone about to speak online?
I think that was Julie.
Julie?
I'm okay, sorry.
Okay.
Could I bring up I think Trustee Nakagawa might have a good point in terms of, and Anurag, Trustee Chandra might agree, you spent a lot of time on this, like, good governance, right? I mean, over the last decade. And so maybe maybe there is a fitting place in terms of the mission statement for the vision statement. So recognize for fiduciary excellence, governance, innovation, and trusted member service. I don't, maybe it's already captured, but I do know that's been a big part of this plan for the past decade.
Perhaps.
Well, I have a question. Do we think that the members necessarily care about governance issues? I mean,
No.
don't they care about just getting their timely benefits?
I'm sure that's the case.
Well,
But
like
maybe
governance
incorporating
applies to
some of the
us.
comments,
Right.
maybe replacing innovation, which we're sort of not clear if that's a goal in itself, replacing innovation with good governance. We should govern ourselves, or prudent governance should be a vision in and of itself.
I think since it's gonna come up later, governance is, this implies that it better be good governance, or you're not gonna get any of this
Yeah.
achieved.
Okay.
It's true.
I think if it's gonna be covered as a specific thing, which I understand it is, I don't see working it, because I would agree, people care about good government. What they really care about is your fiduciary, at least the people I work with, they care about the excellence of managing it, the fiduciary excellence, and the service. You know, what happens when I call in? What happens when I, have an issue? How is that handled? And I think you've covered that in all the things that are in front of me. I mean, there may be a reason to make the symmetry work better. That's really up to the board, but we can always go back if we needed to, after we see, you could approve like this tentatively, and then we'll look at that next step, which is how we do it. Just a thought.
Yeah.
I would also, I think governance is a foundational principle of the boards and the pension fund. But I would argue, what is good governance? When we think about what good governance is, it's accountability and integrity, and some of the mission and the core values, right? Those are kind of the definition of good governance. Without saying the words good governance, I feel the components of that are here. But again, for your consideration.
I agree.
So I have the sense that each one of us would have conceivably drafted all these things slightly differently without major notable differences. So with that notion in mind, would anyone like to make a motion to accept or modify these three statements so that we can vote?
I move that we accept the three statements as presented.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the question. Is there any public comment on the question? There is none. Is there any trustee comment further to the question? Very good. Seeing none, we will vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. We have a mission, vision, and core values. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so there is still more to the presentation you would like to
Yes.
review with us? Okay.
Yes, if staff doesn't mind pulling the deck back up, I appreciate it. And if we go to slide 16, please. So these are the key recommended planning themes. I'm sure none of these are a surprise to you, as we've talked about a lot of these things through our interviews, and you address these things during your board meetings. But these were the top themes that we are recommending. I won't read them all, but you can see we're trying to hit the most important things, financial stability, focusing on that member-centered service and experience, communication engagement, technology, looking internally at staff, and then strong governance and effective board dynamics. And none of this is meant to imply that you're not already doing all of these things or addressing these topics, but it's really just solidifying into, a written plan, a written document, and it provides transparency that, look, this board recognizes these things are important and they are addressing them. So if we go to the next slide.
Julie, I have a
Hold on,
question.
Julie.
Sorry.
It just feels to me like one of the things that we've talked about over time is having to improve our risk management and I think that cybersecurity is technology enablement, innovation, and cybersecurity. It has a little bit of risk management, but there could be a broader business continuity risk management part. And I feel like maybe item 4 needs to have a little bit broader piece of that includes risk management.
Are you talking about risk management from an investment perspective?
I'm talking about risk management overall for the system. You've talked about enterprise mismanagement. What happens if there's emergency? What happens how do you ensure business continuity or pension plan continuity, you would call it, if there is a breach, if there is a war breaks out, if things like that. I mean, there needs, what are the processes that we put in place? And I think that's a big issue that I don't know that we've really talked about, but it's sort of part of enterprise risk management. And I feel like in our strategic plan, it should be more than cybersecurity. We need to take a broader look at risk management.
Insofar as the word risk could have a double meaning, I think the concept of enterprise continuity,
Yeah.
I think is a core value and something.
And if we go to slide 20, just to jump ahead, so you could see, I can definitely see the comments you're making being captured through the
Organizational
action
resilience.
plan, because you'll see here it is, make sure we're enhancing service delivery, operational efficiency, making sure your organization is resilient. These are just high-level goals and objectives, but the action plan can certainly add those types of details. John, I don't know if you wanted to add to that?
Sure. So maybe it'd be good just to take a small step backwards, using this number 4, technology enablement. I mean, the idea is that the boards will approve the goals and objectives, and then staff is going to go away and create plans to achieve. These are the what's. Staff will go away and produce the how in a plan to achieve these goals and objectives. Some of these objectives, they might be accomplished in 6 months. Some of them might be 6 years, right? The whole idea of having a strategic plan is that we can plan further out, and then we have to navigate the waters that we're in, but ultimately we always have something out in the distance that we're navigating towards. And so the details behind each one of these, there could be a number of items that we want to establish as part of each of these objectives. I do think that Debbie is bringing up a good point, and not that different than maybe in the mission, the vision, and the core values, where we don't use the word governance, but there are many governance components weaved in.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for the enterprise risk management. We have many components across all of the goals that really are part of risk management, not just investments, not just cybersecurity, but as an example, we have organizational capacity is a risk management, succession planning, and so I actually spent a lot of time with Julie and staff talking about the organizational capacity of Goal 5. And working through the objectives there to word that right, that gives us the ability to set those objectives and accomplish some of the things that I see as things that we need to do. And then when I bring that back to the board and say, here are the plans that I think we need to work on, you'll have an opportunity to review and approve those. Obviously, I can't do any of this work unless the board approves, and in some cases authorizes the resources that are needed to accomplish these tasks. So I don't know if that makes you feel any better, but I do think, as Julie points out, there are many components of risk throughout each one of these, or most of those goals.
Let me just also observe that, unlike the mission and vision statements, where we're sort of carefully parceling each word and their meaning and implications, these are broad directions here that incorporate many elements. So I think that we don't necessarily need to parse them quite so carefully, so long as all of the elements are included within each subject area. So if we can go back to, was it slide 16?
Yes.
Thank you.
And, as you'll see in your deck, there are separate slides for each of the planning themes. Happy to go through them, or, if you have already read them or want to page through them on your own, that's fine. Whatever you direct, happy to follow your lead. But as John said, there's going to be a lot more to follow. These are high level, and, is there anything that you think, okay, this is too much, perhaps you could put off 3 to 5 years, or no, this is good to start us out with our first strategic plan, and go from there.
So I would ask the question that Vice Chair Faulkner asked, which is, are there any glaring omissions? Is there something we should be working on that's not listed here? And I'll ask a second question. I assume Aon has generated these broad planning themes, having observed what other plans, statewide, nationwide, are working on. Okay, so these are similar to what peer plans are doing. So I don't know if any trustees have any further comment or any ideas on what is missing from this list. Okay, Trustee Nakagawa?
For the 6 themes, is there a priority order at all, or is it just kind of tackle 6 at the same time?
There's no priority, but the priorities and details will be fleshed out through the action plans. I'm sure a lot of it is what resources John already has to start addressing these items, how long something might take, so that will flow through.
Okay, thank you.
I'd also note that we started the discussion at yesterday's governance committee meeting around the CEO, CIO performance evaluations, and the one of the concepts that is being discussed is that we set annual goals for the CEO, CIO. Those goals, I would think that the majority of the goals would be in some form of alignment to these goals and objectives on the strategic the process. There will also be tactical goals, like we have to paint that wall this year. Something that's not strategic but important. But the process of setting those goals is the board's ability to prioritize. So of course, I will bring what I believe are the appropriate goals. Once we have those goals, we'll put together action plans for that individual year. My goals become the staff goals and action plans, and so on, so forth down the organizational chain.
Okay. So at this point, you would like us to approve the strategic planning themes?
That's the request.
Okay. Is there any further trustee comment on the strategic planning themes? Would anyone like to make a motion on accepting these themes?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have a motion from trustee Linder. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from trustee Nakagawa. Is there any public comment on this motion? There is none. Is there any further trustee comment? If not, we can vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. These themes are accepted. Does that complete?
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
great discussion, and that was all we needed from this, unless there are any other questions.
No, very good. Thank you. I believe that agenda item is complete.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for the board for the support. Thanks Aon and staff. We did our own set of wordsmithing across these items. I think more so in the goals and objectives, because that's this was the easy work. The hard work now is actually going to put the rubber to the road and creating meaningful action plans associated to each one of these objectives or sub-objectives. But thanks for the support. We're excited to have this approved now by both boards, such that we can start the real work.
When do you think, John, that the stuff will come back?
Probably, so April, we're targeting to bring the budget, which, in order to accomplish these goals and objectives, we're probably going to have some resource discussions. The budget that we're proposing in April does not incorporate any of these items, because of course they weren't approved yet, and the budget process with the city starts back in January. So, but I would say my target is going to be May to bring something back to the boards, whether it's a detailed status or an actual action plan, with the ultimate goal of having the long-term action plan compiled, so that when we update the CIO, CEO evaluation process starting July 1, well, it'll most likely be in August because there's no meetings in July, but we'll be able to start the new fiscal year with this in place and kind of trying to bring that alignment across the whole organization. It's a little cumbersome to get started because I always feel like we're just a little bit behind, but that's the hope.
Yeah, I think when it's finished, it would be great to make sure the council sees this,
Very good.
Very good.
at least the top level. All right,
Okay, any other,
nice job by everybody here, I appreciate it.
thank you, trustee Linder. Any other comments before we move to the next agenda item? I have noticed in the interim, certain people have entered the room, and that will allow us to revisit some items earlier deferred. And I believe the first of these is our ceremonial item, which is a presentation to our about to depart CIO, Mr. Prabhu Palani. So, Mr. Palani, if you will step to the stage. We have a commendation for you.
So we have a microphone here if you want to do it standing to capture it for posterity.
Give me a side, please. Oh, wow. Paparazzi.
Yeah.
You didn't expect this. Well, let me first get the pictures of me passing the commendation to Mr. Palani. This is a bittersweet moment for the plan and for me personally. Very good. Mr. Palani has been with us for longer than I've been a trustee, longer than most of us have been trustees. Your service has been exemplary. Obviously, you have helped guide the plan through many rough seas and have emerged into some calmer waters. And we certainly appreciate your guidance, your wisdom, your management of staff, and your always courteous and informed interactions with the trustees. So I'm very happy to make this presentation to you and to give you this commendation.
Thank you.
And it was voted unanimously by the trustees. And at this point, before I allow you,
Horowitz, to formally adopt this, we need discussion and action to formally adopt the resolution.
oh, we actually need a vote on this? Okay. I will entertain a motion to adopt this commendation.
I will enthusiastically make that motion.
We have an enthusiastic motion from trustee Chandra. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second from trustee Abbott. Is there public comment on this item? There is, in fact, public comment on this item. The public commenter on this agenda item will have 2 minutes. Please announce the public commenter.
Chair Horowitz, we have Roberto L. Pena. Mr. Pena, you will have 2 minutes. When the timer goes off, you will be muted.
Very good.
Thank you, Cynthia. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the board, distinguished members. My name is Roberto Pena. I work with the Federated board for the last 11 and a half years. Before you made the very wise decision to hire your new CEO, John. Good morning. Just want to take a few minutes of your day, of your morning to congratulate Prabhu, one of the best decisions that your board has made over the years. He done exemplary work for the Federated board and members over the years. He, along with trustees of both boards, led us through the pandemic and the challenges with the investment options at the time. And so he's done a terrific job, not only leading us through that process and the markets over the last few years, but also with his investment staff, more specifically training his staff to the point that I think you made a very wise decision to hire as his predecessor, his number 2 person in the staff at this point. So I wanted to congratulate you for that as well. So again, just a few words to say congratulations to Prabhu. Wish you the best of luck in your future. And again, I wanted to say hello to all board trustees. It was my pleasure to work for you and the members over the last 11 years. I'm sure Prabhu feels the same way. And lastly, I wanted to say hello to the staff at the office. I miss you all, and you're in good hands, and I want to wish you all the best. And one more time, Prabhu, congratulations for a great job. And thank you for your commitment and your engagement over the last years at the helm of the investment function. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Public Speaker Pena. Are there any other public commenters? There are none. Is there anyone, trustees, who would like to comment on this motion before we vote?
I certainly would.
Thank you, Trustee Chandra.
Prabhu and I joined the board at the same time, and I was part of the JPC that had the wisdom to then make him our CIO. And I could go on and on and on, so I decided I will go with really short and sweet. It has been one of the greatest privileges of my professional career to serve and work with Prabhu Palani.
Thank you. Any other comments before we vote?
Prabhu.
All right.
I would just add that I have looked over the last several years at how we've progressed and made progress in terms of really what could be a daunting unfunded liability, and I've looked at what's happened with during the pandemic and so on, and it really, I appreciate the innovation and the ideas and how we can move ahead and continue to make progress, and it was all because of your guidance, so thank you.
Yeah, I think there's no greater testimony to your tenure. What was the funded liability, funded status when you joined? Is it there? I believe it was in the low 50s. You didn't bring your glasses. I believe it was in the low 50s.
Yeah.
Perhaps as low as 50%. 51%. To date is 65%.
Yeah.
And in the world of numbers, maybe that doesn't sound like a lot of numbers, but this is turning, a oil tanker in the middle of the ocean. This is a huge upswing. Our members are in a much better situation today, thanks to your leadership, and we, as trustees, are in your debt. So with that, we will call the vote. Trustee Linder. We are voting to approve this commendation.
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Chi.
Aye.
Trustee Abbott.
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner.
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa.
Aye.
Trustee Chandra.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Sir, it is unanimous. You are commended. Thank you. And we can revisit another item from the agenda that we had deferred for the moment, and that is 5B, which is an oral update from our City Council liaison, Vice Mayor Foley.
Thank you. First, I want to congratulate Prabhu on your quote-unquote retirement and wish you well in the next chapter of your life. We've served together on this for now 8 years for me, and I remember the COVID years and how concerning those were, but I also remember how quickly you moved into action to protect the assets and also invest them really brilliantly, and came out on the other side in a really positive way. I commend you for all you've done with the pension plan, and I knew where it came from before, or where it was before you got here, and you really truly righted the ship and brought the pension plan to where it is today, really truly thriving. So thank you for your service to all of our retirees and our future retirees at the City of San Jose. I wish you tremendous joy and peace where you're going, in whatever you pursue. Thank you. As someone who's ready to do the same thing, I'm going to be following you and seeing what you're up to. So I was lucky enough to just play crossing guard at one of our intersections at one of my elementary schools, Bagby Elementary School. So that's why I was a little bit late. I really enjoy scolding parents or drivers who are not driving the right ways, particularly around a school. So if you see me, slow down and stop, because I don't have the power of a ticket, but I sure do have a mean stare.
Now we know why you ran for office.
Right, that's it. So I've said this before, that we're in a budget crisis. The latest number is that we're facing a $56 million deficit. And while that doesn't sound like a big number in relation to $1 billion budget, but that is 56 million related to our general fund. And the general fund is where we have discretion on spending. The majority of our funds are committed in other projects. The airport, our waste water treatment plant, other areas, our funds are committed, and those are other units, and we can't pull from that to backfill the general fund. So with a $56 million deficit, it's going to be a really tough budget. We just passed the budget approval process is 3 parts. The first is the mayor's March message, which was approved on Tuesday after about a 5-hour, 6-hour, a lot of public comment, and then a lot of discussion back and forth from the council. The next step is that the city manager will take the direction from council through the mayor's message and add a budget to it. And then we'll see, this is our projected revenue, this is our projected expenses, and that's where we're gonna see what possible cuts will be included in it, knowing that we want to stay true to our core values, particularly public safety is number 1, homelessness, addressing our 5 focus areas. How we do that will be difficult because we don't want to the pressure from some will be to add in new programs, but this is not the time to add in new programs. We are also in fact, this is the time to tighten our belt as much as we can, and retain staff should be our priority. I say that very aware that I'm at the Federated board, but truly the group that delivers the services to our residents is our staff. And if we have to reduce staff, that's going to affect the services that we offer to our residents, and that will have a detrimental effect short-term and long-term. So the goal is to not have to do any layoffs, and I'm hopeful that will occur. Also, we're in the middle, we just started bargaining with all of our Federated bargaining units, which will take us a few months and probably through June, or hopefully be adopted so we can include whatever's negotiated in the June message. So first phase, we've passed mayor's March message. Then the mayor city manager comes back with her budget, and then the horse trading begins. That's where favored programs may be cut, and in June, the city council has to figure out, okay, if the library's on the list, and that's one of my pet projects, so I hope the libraries won't be on the list, but if they are, then where's the trade-off? Where in the budget can I find money to save a particular program? We can't just simply come back and say, we want this program saved. We have to find the money elsewhere in the budget, and that'll be adopted in June. So it's going to be, this is my last budget session. I'm thankfully looking forward to this. You know, the year starts in January, and then it flies by through June. And then we'll see what happens in the second half of my last year. But for now, there's a lot going on with the budget, and I also want to note that you've all heard the news about Cesar Chavez and the horrible stories coming forth from women that he abused. We have a legal holiday that is Tuesday in honor of his birthday. I know the mayor and his Brown Act are working on a memo to the Rules Committee, which will come next week. Haven't seen him because I'm not in his Brown Act, but I suspect it will address that day on what we may be calling it, because we can't remove the day. It's included as one of our legal holidays, and that's part of our bargaining unit too. But we can certainly take his name off it, rename it. What we do, I don't know, but it is, you should all know that on the council floor, we're all very concerned about what happened and the implication for things we have in this city that are named Cesar Chavez. And while the movement was extremely important, detaching his name from it will continue to shed a light on the movement, but take away the horrible stories that we're hearing and truly pain. So I wanted to end with that. And again, Prabhu, it's truly been a pleasure. And I'm not the smartest one around here, this table. You all manage funds and are, but Prabhu is really good at explaining to me what's going on with the money and the assets and our various pots and how it's done. And I feel a little bit educated, and over 7 years, I feel like I kind of know what I'm listening to. So thank you for all of that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Foley. I don't envy you. You're having to deal with a budget with a $56 million deficit, so good luck and Godspeed on dealing with those challenges.
Oh, one other thing. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to acknowledge the email that you sent to me. I know you sent it publicly or privately, not as a representative here, but I wanted you to acknowledge publicly that I received it.
Okay.
I share your thoughts and concerns.
Thank you. And I wrote that as a private citizen, not as a member of the board.
Yeah.
Are there any questions or comments from trustees for the Vice Mayor? Is there any public comment on this item? There is none. So with that, thank you very much for the report, and we will proceed to the next agenda item, which is item 5. No, I believe we have to go back to investments. For the last time, I'm afraid I must say, it is a report on item 3A from RCIO for the moment. Mr. Polani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My apologies for showing up late. And I depart with a slight blemish on my punctuality record. I've never been late for a board meeting. My last board meeting, I almost didn't make it here. I fell sick consuming something. And somehow, miraculously, like Bond in Casino Royale, here I am.
We appreciate your effort through sickness and health.
Thank you. Firstly, I have a few thank yous to say. I did not do that yesterday because I didn't want to be repetitive, but there are a few people I would like to thank. And before I thank anyone here, I'd like to thank, firstly, our beneficiaries. I mean, so it's not lost on us at ORS that the only reason we exist here is to serve our beneficiaries. And that's what motivates us to get up and go to work every day and to work hard to manage the assets to the best of our ability and to also service our beneficiaries. So thank you all. Without you, we won't have a job. I want to thank trustees for your kind comments, for the commendation, and also Vice Mayor Foley. Thank you for your very kind comments. Also, Council Member Casey on the Police and Fire Board. And all trustees here, you've all helped shape the plan and the program, and I really appreciate your feedback, your assistance, your help over the years. I also want to thank former trustees. I could have missed some names here, but Matt Loesch, and then Marty Dirks, Armstrong, Jennings, and Police and Fire Board, Evnine, Sunzeri, Lanza, a lot of people who we worked with. So I have 16 bosses today, but in reality, I've worked with 30 to 40 bosses over the last 8 years, and you all contributed in some form or the other to this becoming, I think, a truly world-class investment program. So thank you for your support. I want to thank my investment team, my investment officers and admin staff. And I was telling Jay the other day, I get a lot of undue credit for this team. It's almost happened by accident. I'm just happy that they're here, and I've managed to retain them. And some of the credit goes to my predecessor, Arn Andrews, for hiring Jay. And you know, they are among the best team in the state of California or nationally in any public pension plan. And I also want to thank Ellen, who's sort of kept me honest and straight, one of the best admins out there. I want to thank Roberto, who made some kind comments. I was surprised to see him there. Worked with Roberto for 6 of my 8 years here, I think. And when I took up this role, I was new to the public sector, and it hit me like a bus. And so Roberto helped me navigate some of the issues in the early days. And thanks, John, for the partnership. It's been a short one, but you know, it's been a very productive one. John's the best hire, I think, that this board and the city has made. And I really hope that both boards will go out of their way to retain John. I think he's mended fences. He's brought us to a nice position, and I think the plan's in a good position today, a good place today. And there's a lot of work to be done for sure. I also want to thank our admin staff here. It's the best admin staff in the last 8 years that I've been here, and you know, Cynthia and the team. And really, you know, I'm not being light about this, right? Someone like Cynthia, her work ethic, her attitude, you know, cutting through bureaucracy and trying to help reaffirms my faith in government. So I think in addition to keeping John, we should also try everything possible to keep Cynthia. And I want to thank Mayors Licardo and Mahan, and you know, and for their support. We all share a common bond in our love for Bellarmine College Prep, the finest school in all of California. ORS staff, I want to thank Sandra, Barbara, senior leadership team, and there's too many to name here. Chris and Ryan in IT, Chris Reyes in accounting. I seem to have the same annoying questions on mileage reimbursement, and he's always helpful and gracious. Thank our excellent consultants, Makita and Veris, particularly Laura Wyrick and Eileen. With their guidance and support, we've actually brought the plan to a better place. So thank you for the knowledge that you've shared with us and for your guidance in all market cycles. And I know Bill is not here. Chiron, every time Bill presents, I feel somewhat inadequate, but I also feel brighter. He's one of the smartest people I've met. So again, thank you all. It's been a pleasure and a privilege serving this board and your sister board. With that, we do have some real business to cover, which is last quarter. Sure, please.
I really appreciate that you called out Arn. You called out everyone. I have always said we have the best best staff in the state of California. We punch above our weight class. But I've been here almost 10 years, and it's really been a 1-2 punch with what Arn did to kind of stabilize and operationally get the investment staff in a good place, so then you could come in and do your thing. And so I just wanted to say that I'm really, it says a lot about you that you also recognized your predecessor.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So this morning, unless anybody has questions, we have last quarter's performance review. Mm-hmm. And of course, private markets are 1 quarter lagged. And if there are no questions, I'll invite Neuberger Berman. I think we have Casey's on vacation. We have Tyler. Right?
We have Tyler Sinigi from Neuberger. Go ahead, Tyler.
Well, before we move to that, we do need to ask if there's any public comment on that agenda item. And there is none. There's no action required of the board. However, as we are at the 10:10 hour, let us take a 5-minute break, as we normally do around this time, before we proceed into the investments. So let us recess for 5 minutes. Thank you. Fellow trustees, can we resume our important business?
Yeah.
And I believe we were just about to enter into item 3B, presentation of calendar third quarter private equity report by Newberger Berman.
And now Tyler can go ahead.
Okay, Tyler, are you with?
Sure. Good morning. I'm going to try to share my screen here.
Okay.
Terrific. Well, as I said, pleasure to speak with you this morning. I'll start here on page 2. On this page, as you see, we have summary performance of the private markets portfolio, with the legacy portfolio all the way to the left, and then the 2 NB strategic partnership vehicles in the 2 middle columns. Series 1 is fully committed today and has transitioned into a more mature harvest-oriented stage of its life, although there are some of the primary fund investments in that portfolio are still actively making new investments today. And then today, we are actively committing to new investments out of Series 2, which launched in July of 2023. Very similar strategy in Series 2 as in Series 1, and we continue to work very closely with the San Jose investment team on pacing, allocations, and new investments. We're in the 3rd year of that program, and as such, given the nature of the private markets portfolio, it's still very early in developing, and our primary focus remains working on diversification, annual pacing, et cetera, alongside the team. Before summarizing returns, one thing we did want to note was that during Q3, total net distributions back to the retirement system from the NB Strategic Partnership were $11 million, all attributable to Series 1, which makes sense given the age of that program. And the liquidity from the underlying portfolio was driven largely by the sale of underlying portfolio companies within the primary investment portfolio of Series 1. And just to note, the largest single underlying distribution came from a turnaround middle market manager from selling a healthcare company at a very healthy 8 times gross multiple on invested capital to a financial buyer, which generated $7.7 million back to the Series 1 portfolio. Subsequent to Q3, the portfolio has continued to generate distributions. Three distribution notices for a total of $7.5 million have been issued from the Series 1 partnership back to the retirement system, with $2.5 million in January, $3 million in February, and another $2 million that was distributed last week. And similar to the Q3 distributions, these were all from Series 1, so again, very consistent given the age of the two programs. Moving to the returns themselves toward the bottom of the page, overall Q3 I would characterize as returns were relatively stable from Q2 to Q3, and I would also characterize that as broadly in line with market conditions across private equity during the quarter. For Series 1, the net TVPI increased from 1.96x to 1.98x, and the net IRR now stands at 16% as of Q3. For Series 2, the net TVPI moved slightly from 1.18 to 1.17x, and the net IRR now stands at 19.5%. As a reminder, given Series 2 is actively deploying capital and making capital calls today, each dollar going into new investments enters at cost, or 1.0x, which naturally moderates the overall multiple of Series 2 in the near term. And I would note that the fund did generate a positive return or gain during Q3, but the impact of the additional capital going in at cost outweighed that in terms of the net TVPI change during the quarter. With those introductory performance comments, I'll turn to page 11 to go through Series 1 in a bit more detail. So starting at the top of the page here, we show investment performance by investment type. So starting with the co-investments, which represent 26% of the Series 1 portfolio, they continue to generate strong returns with that 20% gross IRR and a gross multiple above 2x. Secondaries continue to be a strong contributor, not only on returns, but also on early liquidity, with a DPI for the secondary investments of above 1.3 times paid in capital. And then lastly, the primaries are still developing and actively investing, so we are both pleased with the current performance to date, and we do expect continued value creation from the Q3 marks. Moving to the benchmarking at the bottom of the page, Series 1 is a 2017 vintage fund, so we compare it to 2017 vintage benchmarks. It's held at a 1.98x net TVPI as of quarter end, which is just under the first quartile benchmark cutoff of 2.02x. So we view this as very strong performance for this fund for its vintage. And then similarly, the 16% net IRR places the fund in the second quartile on a net IRR basis as well. Turning to page 12 and the Series 2 performance, same layout of the slide. So starting at the top again, as we noted, it's very early and still deploying capital, so a little bit early to evaluate returns, but we're still happy with where the portfolio is to date. Notably, the primaries and co-investments are both sitting in a good place as of Q3 given their age, and then notably secondaries have performed, while they're only 3% of the portfolio, they're showing very strong early performance. And then finally, turning to the benchmarking for Series 2, this is a 2023 vintage fund. It's generated a 1.17x net TVPI as of Q3 with a net IRR of the 19.5%. And again, both of those place the fund in second quartile on a net IRR and net TVPI basis. And as noted previously, our focus remains on consistent pacing, disciplined manager and deal selection, and building a diversified portfolio that we can believe will compound in the coming years. So that concludes my prepared remarks. I'm happy to pause and take any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Are there questions or comments from trustees? Trustee Chandra.
I have a question. Maybe it's for Dinesh. Actually, it could be for Tyler too. I presume that making the primary investments in managers is the pathway to being able to do the co-investments. And secondaries, I would imagine that's a little bit less so. Have you guys ever considered ramping up the co-investments a little bit, as long as it's alongside a manager, and potentially even decreasing exposure to managers directly?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we actually don't have a requirement to make primary fund commitments to get access to co-investments. So the way that we've structured this fund of one with Neuberger Berman is that we get to choose whichever primary funds we'd like to invest in. Our focus has been primarily on small and mid-cap funds.
Yeah.
So these are usually areas that are more inefficient, have greater opportunities for value creation. And actually, in this current fiscal year, we've made 4 commitments. 3 of them were oversubscribed funds that had one and done closes, so hard to access, but we were able to through the fund of one. On co-investments and secondaries, we actually have full access to the entire Neuberger Berman platform. It's not restricted to just funds that we've invested in. That's part of the reason that we are attracted to this type of structure, that we can see much more opportunities and pick and choose what we'd like to invest in.
Right. Have you considered changing the percentage mix of our, say we have a pie that's devoted to private equity? I like this isn't the place for me to share my personal, preferences, and I agree with a lot of yours. It's more structurally, have you thought, since we're doing dramatically better in secondaries and we are in co-invests?
Yeah, so we have shifted more towards secondaries and co-investments. We view those as an opportunistic bucket, so there's not a specific target towards how much secondaries, how much co-investments. We happen to find very good secondaries that we've decided to participate in. That's why they've done well. There's others that have also done well, but we have chosen not to. And the overall percentage of how much we're doing in this bucket of co-investment / secondaries has increased. Right now, it's roughly 40 to 45% of the annual pacing plans that we're investing. In the earlier part, in Series 1, we were building the portfolio from scratch, so we were looking for diversification, more tilted towards primary funds, because there was a long period, 2011 to 2017, the Federated plan didn't make any private equity fund commitments. So we had to start from scratch, build a diversified program, and now that we have that, we can be more targeted in where we make our primary funds as well as our co-investments and secondaries.
Okay, that's great. That's also a good cautionary point. You don't want to have a budget that you want to be highly selective on secondaries and on co-invest, and I did not mean to suggest otherwise, so I'm really glad you said that. And look, primaries are great. I mean, one exit from one manager could put you in the top decile, so, and it's still early, so I'm not worried about the performance there. It was truly a structural question.
Yes.
I have a question of a different nature, and my question is, I'm reading a lot about what's happening to a number of sectors because of the advent of AI, and there are sectors that used to be seen as very really high potential, and now there's some concern, and I'm wondering what kind of exposure we may have in the types of funds that we have to an AI coming over and perhaps changing the valuation that we had expected.
Yeah, another great question. There's a lot of headlines on what's going on in private credit and software AI exposure. And I would say with regard to software and AI, it's something that all of the companies that we're invested in, they're all looking to make an implementation of it. It's not that there's legacy companies that are going to be disrupted just automatically because there's new software that's being created very quickly, very efficiently. But everyone is looking at if there's a pivot that needs to be made or opportunities for them to implement it as well.
Yeah.
For us, in terms of our buyout portfolio, a quarter is in a technology and IT broad category, but that isn't exclusively software. It includes hardware, semiconductors, cloud, applications, IT services, so a whole lot of things. Software is probably half or less than half of that 25%.
Yeah.
And more of our focus has been on value-oriented technology buyout managers. So less focus on high-growth managers that have more areas where they could be disrupted, particularly on the exit valuation. So that's where I think there's more risk, because for a long time, software has been seen as a very stable sector, very sticky customers, high net retention rates, high growth.
and very good margins. But that's being called into question now that there's new things that can be created, and those high multiples are starting to come down. So there is some valuation changes that are already happening. And the headlines in the media seem more focused on private credit, but I would say it's more affecting equity, both public equity, private equity, and other equity owners. That's the first loss. And instead of a very high multiple, those are being brought down. And there will be some winners and losers, some companies that are able to take advantage better than others. I think many of the legacy software providers, there's a reason they exist. They have domain expertise, different governance reasons that they wouldn't just be ripped out by a customer so easily. And there will be changes, but I would say we're more insulated. And perhaps speaking to our next presentation on private credit also, which is in the headlines, we also have very low exposure to software in the single digits. And then that's also more insulated because you do have an equity position that's going to take the first losses before the loans start to take losses as well.
Thank you.
Can I just make, I really think that's great that Trustee Abbott asked that. I will be participating in the Public Funds Roundtable at the end of April on a panel focused on AI in institutional investing, because I think there's maybe 3 or 4 trustees in California who have a lot of experience in the space. So and I think we're trying to get all of us together. I think it's important for this board from a governance point of view to, and maybe we'll have to do this in a separate conversation. Maybe it starts in the IC. We have to think about AI in terms of how we use it internally.
Yeah.
That's one. We have to think about how we make a ton of money off of AI, because there's going to be a ton of alpha, and we are fiduciaries, and we have to think about that. And then we have to think about the parts of our portfolio it's going to destroy.
Yes.
And so
I agree.
All 3 of those things need, and we will come up with no crystal ball answers, but I think we should be anticipating, because this is a tectonic type of thing that I think boards should be paying attention to.
I would certainly agree that everything I have read and am aware of through personal experience tells me that AI is a tectonic shift in the marketplace and technology, and we need to think about how that impacts our portfolio and how we operate. So I concur.
One more thing I would add related to our existing portfolio, we do have a solicitation for an RFP for a comprehensive investment management system, and it's coming to an end. And what we're looking to do is take advantage of these new tools that are available to make us more efficient so we can spend our time more wisely, improve our compliance functions, and have things done on a more systematic basis. So it is something that our investment team has been actively looking at, and there is big leaps and bounds in what's available in the market today versus what there was in the past. So we will be looking to implement a solution soon.
Okay. Can I continue to come? Which is great, but there are risks, and there are no best practices yet. It's a bit of Wild West. A lot of institutions are using different tools. We have to have a framework. You know, on one pole, I think the human should always be making the decision. Maybe you guys disagree with me on that. On the other hand, we don't want our staff to miss out on the opportunity to use AI to improve their research and their recommendations. But that's what I just said is incredibly vague. That needs to be defined. I'll just give you 2 other examples. I know a company that is renegotiating its Salesforce contract. In the past, they just always had to take the 20% increases, and they just told their salesperson at Salesforce, you know, we might just vibe code what you guys have. And interesting how the price actually dropped 10%. And then there's a very prominent growth equity firm. I shouldn't name them. We're not investors in them. Their CEO he's a luminary, and he gave a talk to his LPs, and I was able to participate. They're heavily exposed to software, and his answers were completely unconvincing. And this is one of the luminaries. So there's a real risk in those SaaS-related software portfolios.
That's right.
All right. Well, I don't want to get too far off the agenda. We certainly need to have the discussion about our internal use of tools, but that is for another day and another venue, perhaps. Is there anything more on item 3C, which is the private markets report? Any further trustee comments? Is there any public comment on this agenda item? There is none. So with that, I thank you. And we'll move on to item 3D, which is calendar 4th quarter, Makita Investment Group.
Are we on 3C?
Oh, I'm
3C.
sorry. Did I get ahead of myself?
Yeah.
3C. That's what I meant.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and
Thank you.
good morning, everyone. Give me one moment, I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, so as mentioned, I'm gonna go ahead and go through the third quarter private markets report from Akita. And so you just heard from Neuberger Berman regarding private equity. Here on this page, I'll go through the private debt, real estate, real assets, and venture capital programs. Here on this first page, you can see a summary of assets as of the end of the third quarter. In total, there was a $1.5 billion in committed capital, which results in $819.7 million in remaining value across the programs here, and that's including the private equity program. I'll draw your attention on the right-hand side, and that's the evaluation of the IRRs compared to a PME IRR. So if you go up and down the line of different composites here, you can see the IRR for each asset class compared to the PME IRR. And so just a reminder, the PME is a public market equivalent benchmark. And so that takes the public market index for that asset class and converts it to a benchmark for these programs, taking into consideration timing of cash flows. So if you look at the IRRs for each program, some attractive IRRs across the board. Several of them are outperforming the public market equivalent here. In total, across the private market programs, the program has returned 8.5% across all the programs here since inception. I'll advance one page and go through the private debt program. The target for this program is 3%, and as of the end of the third quarter, that allocation stood at 3.2%, so close to target, slightly above. The IRR for private debt is 6.5% since inception, a good result. There was no new commitments during the third quarter on this page here. And I'll jump to the next two pages that go through the vintage year performance figures as well as individual fund performance figures. I'll pause on pages 5 and 6 briefly. If you go up and down the line here across the individual partnerships, there's some really good return numbers. So not only do we have IRRs here, but we're also looking at DPI and TVPI figures compared to peers up and down the line here, especially some of those newer vintages. There's some strong performance. And I'll just remind you here that the peer IRR on this page is comparing each fund to a vintage year peer group. So that's other similar type funds and not the public market equivalent benchmark, which is what we were showing on the first page. And Dinesh already addressed some of the questions about the software exposure within the private credit composite. I'll mention that this is broken down into different asset types, so a lot of that exposure that he was talking about will be found within the direct lending space, but there's also a lot of exposure to things like asset-backed lending and opportunistic, and so it's very diversified and insulated in that regard. Page 7 shows the breakdown of vintage years and geographic focus. This is a more mature program, been around since 2010, and so you have a smattering of a lot of different vintage years, and that's something that is obviously important when building out a private market program, is getting vintage year diversification, and that's what we have here and what this program is built on. Jumping to page 8, we'll go through the real assets program, and so this program has a target of 3%. It's a newer-ish program, started in 2016 on this page, and you can see it's been ramping up towards that long-term target over time. So the current allocation as of the end of the third quarter is 2.5% relative to that 3% target. Returns here look really strong. If you look at the IRR column here, that's returned 11.8% on an IRR basis over that time period. So really good result. In terms of performance, no new commitments to report in the third quarter. And then the next few pages, 10, 11, and 12, show individual partnership and vintage year return figures, looking at those DPI and TVPI numbers as well. Like I said, really good underlying performance from many of these managers and a good result at a total asset class level. Natural resources has benefited more recently from the run-up in commodity prices. That happened largely in the back half of last year and continuing through to the first half of this year. And so as those commodity prices have run up, you're going to see a lot of benefit to this asset class, just benefiting from those underlying asset prices. In terms of vintage year and geographic focus, widely diversified across vintage years. As you can see here, and this program is more globally diversified. So not only is there North America exposure, but a significant chunk within global developed and emerging economies here as well, and that's by design. Next, I'll go through real estate. This program has an allocation of 3.9% as of the end of the third quarter, and that's relative to a 3% policy target, so slightly overweight there, but relatively close to target. In terms of performance, it's had a decent return at 6.1% on an IRR basis since inception. And there was one new commitment made in the third quarter, and that's Corebridge U.S. Real Estate Fund 5, and the amount of $8 million committed. And then again, the next few pages show performance of the individual partnerships. Some good results here as well if you look at those IRRs compared to peers. And again, a 6.1% total IRR for the program. Vintage year and geographic focus, again, widely diversified. Vintage year, have a smattering of different vintages with appropriate levels of allocation to each, and geographic focus is mostly U.S. real estate. Finally, the final program is venture capital. This is the newest program. You can see the allocation chart here starts in 2020. This has a 4% target, and so it's been ramping up over those last few years. Current allocation is 1.7%, and so it's gradually been increasing. The IRR figure here, 4.2%. This is fairly immature. Again, this is a brand new program, and so it takes time for these companies to realize investment. And so 4.2% is a good result so far, but again, fairly immature. One new commitment during the quarter, and that's Fin Flagship Capital 3 in the amount of $5 million commitment. And then again, you can see the individual performance of the funds here. I'll go ahead and pause. The remainder of the material here is a review of private markets across different programs, just generally. So feel free to review on your own time, but I'm happy to take any questions on the private markets report generally before we move on to the rest of the portfolio.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have
Trustee Chi.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Talking about the private credit, they've been in the news a lot lately, especially people trying to redeem.
Yep.
I'm just curious, one, this is a general question. Is it your sense that it's mostly retail trying to redeem out, or is it institutional?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start there. There have been a lot of headlines. It seems like every other day there's a new headline. There's a new big asset manager that's reporting redemptions. But in our experience, that has mostly been on the retail side. And so that's for funds like BCDs or interval funds where in recent years, these big asset managers have really been pushing that on the retail side. They're trying to get into 401ks, and so there's a lot of assets in those funds that they've collected. But the issue there is the underlying loans are illiquid. And so when there's any type of crack or any news headlines and investors want to pull out, retail investors want to pull out, the liquidity is not there. And so there's been a lot of talk about funds restricting redemptions and sort of restricting capital there. And so that's mainly been contained on the retail side, though we're not seeing that as much on the institutional side. We do feel that the underlying loans are strong and they're good. We're not seeing necessarily a downturn in the credit cycle or any reason to be overly concerned about that. It's more just a mismatch of retail investors trying to gain liquidity from vehicles that are not really set up in order to give everyone their money back when they want it.
And then I have a second question is, if you're seeing stress in these larger firms, are you seeing stress in the firms that we're invested in?
We're seeing, like I said, we're seeing stress in the larger firms, mostly on the retail side. So that's their vehicles, BCDs, interval funds for the retail side. I don't think we're necessarily seeing the stress within the institutional side of the business, and I don't believe we're seeing any stress in the underlying other funds that we're invested in. Dinesh, I wonder if you have any other
Yeah.
perspective, but that's not what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no stress on our investments. So this is purely on the retail high net worth side of things. And I think rewinding a few months ago, we were talking about retail investors being opened up to private markets more and some of the risks that brings. I think there were two main categories we saw. One was too much capital flooding in and making returns in private markets unattractive, which hasn't happened yet. The second was around headline risk, specifically the fees and layers of fees that are going to be charged, potentially diminished returns or returns that don't meet expectations. And third was on the illiquidity, since these are set up to be semi-liquid investments where there's some maybe 5% quarterly ability to withdraw capital. So it's not as easy for people to redeem immediately if they choose to redeem. And when we look at the overall number of redemptions that are taking place, it is a very small portion of the overall private credit universe. It's all coming from these retail-oriented vehicles. On the institutional side, our investments are in drawdown structures where the manager has full discretion on when they choose to sell their assets. And in a way, it's actually turning into potentially an opportunity for us because they can go into the secondary market and buy at discounted prices if there are any. There's few large transactions of that nature where there's those retail funds that are under pressure because there really isn't much pressure or issues underlying their underlying loans. But maybe on a one-off basis, there might be some loans that get sold that our managers will be able to take advantage of.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from trustees? Okay, proceed.
Excellent, and thank you for the perspective there, Dinesh. I'll go ahead and move to our next topic, and that is the total portfolio report.
Okay,
So
I
I'll
guess
go ahead
I should also ask if there was public comment on the previous agenda item. There is none, so yes, please proceed.
Excellent. I'll go ahead and move to page 5 of our materials and give a brief update on markets. The reporting that we have in our materials here is through the end of the year, through the end of 2025. And so just to set the stage, you can see on the left-hand side here, there's a chart that shows major market returns across different asset classes for the calendar year 2025, and everything is to the right and pretty significantly to the right. It was a very positive year for capital markets across every major asset class that we're showing here. Public equity really led the way, and in sort of a buck of trend over recent years, international stocks led the way. And so you can see here emerging markets index returned 33.6% in 2025, followed by the MSCI EFI index, which is a measure of developed market economies outside of the U.S., added 31.2%. You can see sort of in the top middle there, the S&P 500 had a really good year, lesser than some of those international markets, but the S&P 500 returned 17.9%. And if you go down the column here, you can see it was also a strong year for bonds. Investment grade bonds, the Barclays aggregate added 7.3% as the Fed started to bring rates down in the back half of the year. That really benefited bonds generally. So across the board, really strong results from major markets. I'll point out there that it was also in the midst of a lot of turmoil. Earlier in the year, you saw sort of the markets go a little bit crazy with the tariff announcements, Liberation Day. As that got pulled back, markets sort of roared back. There was questions around Fed independence, sort of the pace of policy coming off on the rate side, a record government shutdown in the fall. And so despite all of these things going on, markets continued to charge ahead, and it was a really good year through 2025. Fast forward to today, so you can see some of the results in Q4 there, largely a continuation of trend from 2025. I'll point out the Bloomberg Commodity Index was up 5.8% in the fourth quarter. Commodities had a really good year, and that's continued through 2025, especially with the run-up in oil prices that we're seeing now. But just a fast forward to Q1, and so year to date through today, the headlines have been around some of that software discussion we had. You're starting to see a reemergence of value stocks and some of those software and bigger tech names and the growth side of things sort of lose out to the value stocks, partially because of that AI software story. That was a big headline earlier in the year, but right now everything is sort of focused on the Iran conflict. You're seeing oil up over $110 a barrel. And it comes at a really interesting time because one of the biggest questions coming into this year is how the Fed was, what pace the Fed was going to bring rates down. And so now when you have energy prices spiking, ongoing conflict with sort of no really end in sight at this point, that throws a wrench into how that's going to come off. And so that's the biggest question we're looking at now, is sort of that inflation rate story going into this year. So the timing on that is certainly interesting. But just to give you a flavor for what markets are doing right now, the Bloomberg Commodity Index year to date through yesterday was up 23.5%, and that largely is reflective of some of those increased prices in oil. But international stocks are still positive for the year, despite recent sell-offs in March because of the Iran conflict. International stocks had a really strong start to the year, and they're still positive, which is interesting. The MSCI EAFE is up still 2% through yesterday. Emerging markets is up 8% through yesterday, which is sort of not what you would think given what you're hearing in the news. On the U.S. side of things, markets have sold off. We're down about 3% on the S&P 500 through yesterday, and bonds are largely flat. So there's a lot of negative headlines, obviously, around markets, but actually most portfolios are not down as much as you would think, and in fact, most of our client portfolios are positive at this point still, given diversification. Speaking of that, I'll go ahead and move into a review of performance.
I do have
Sure.
a question. One of the things that I've also read is that there's a lot that consumer confidence also continues to be diminishing, and sometimes that may take a longer time horizon before we start seeing the effects in the market, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And one other thing that I'll mention is with the growth in GDP over the last year has been strong and on pace, but a lot of that comes on the backs of spending on the top 10% of households.
Yes.
And so the majority of Americans, that bottom 90%, are sort of more flat. And you're right, there are some cracks in the consumption picture, and we actually have some slides in here that talk about rising debt levels, especially with student loans coming back on, credit card delinquencies. And so there is some stress in the consumer, especially in that bottom 90% of most Americans, where a lot of the growth we've seen over the past year has really been held up by those bigger households. And so that is certainly a factor. That's something under the hood, yes. Great. So jumping to page 25, I'll hop into 2020, or I'll hop into results through 2025 for the pension plan. The pension plan ended 2025 with $3.69 billion in assets, and that's up from the prior quarter of $3.6 billion. And that's on the backs of net cash outflows of $5 million and $80.8 in investment gains during the fourth quarter. The system's net of fees performance for the quarter was 2.2%, sort of in line with but slightly below the policy benchmark and investable benchmarks of 2.4%, and on peer median, which was 2.2% over that time period. For the calendar year 2025, the system returned 14.3%, compared to the policy benchmark, which was 15.4%. And the investable policy benchmark, which was 15.3%. That return does come with significantly less volatility than the policy benchmark, 3.7% over the 1 year period. I'll mention that 14.3% added about $460 million in investment dollar gains. So a really strong year on an absolute basis. It's strongly outpaced the assumed rate of return, and just a really good absolute number, especially when you consider the dollar gain on that 14%. I'll jump to page 28 here, and this is the watch list. There's 11 managers here. It was a challenging year for active management. Markets were really driven by a few concentrated names, and so passive options, index funds really sort of led the way. There's they're market weighted, and so those bigger names that really drove results helped them to do well, and so it was a challenging environment for active managers generally, and so you have a list here of those managers. Many of these managers have outperformed over the very long term since inception or over rolling periods, but we just wanted to note the watch list on this page. Jumping to page 34, this is a breakdown of the assets as of the end of the year. If you look across major asset classes, the current allocation compared to the policy, everything is very close to policy and well within range, and so I just wanted to note that the posture here is appropriate at this point. And then page 35 and the remaining pages here show performance for major asset classes and individual managers in detail. I mentioned the total fund aggregate added 2.2% in the fourth quarter for a trailing 1-year performance of 14.3%. And then I'll point out the 5-year performance here of 7.7%, a really good result annualized over the past 5 years. And this is a busy page, but you can see there's a peer rank for that number, and it's in the 33rd percentile over 5 years. So well better than median compared to peers, and really close to that top quartile. So it's been a really strong run over the past 5 years, and you remember that's included a lot of turbulent periods like 2022 where assets sold off, 2020 COVID, and so really good results through the 5 years I just wanted to highlight. Recently, it's been public equity that's really driven the way. You can see the underlying composites here. This fund has, compared to peers, this fund has more exposure to international markets and emerging markets. Those have done really well, as I mentioned, in 2025, and so I think that exposure has really helped relative peer performance over the past year. I will go ahead and jump to the end and just highlight some risk-adjusted statistics here. Obviously, it's important to think about the risk of the portfolio. Over 5 years on this page, you can see different return metrics, standard deviations, Sharpe and Sorrentino ratios. The total funds, standard deviation, Sharpe ratio, and Sorrentino ratio, which is a measure of downside risk, over 5 years all rank better than median compared to peers. And so not only has there been really strong returns over the past 5 years, but on a risk-adjusted basis, it looks really attractive as well. That was a very high-level overview. I'd be happy to take any individual questions or go through anything else before we move on to the healthcare fund.
Very good, thank you. Trustee Chandra.
I just had questions about the watch list. I think that was slide 28.
Sure.
I was going to say Christina might want to. I again, without naming names, I do notice a couple of managers who've been on there, feel somewhat consistently, because we talk about this at the IC as well. It's a process question. How does someone get off well, I guess they get off with really good performance. How do they eventually get fired, and what's our current thinking on that?
That's a great question. Thanks for the question. So watchlist manager, they are on watch because of underperformance on the 3 or 5 years, but there's different reasons behind the underperformance. We monitor them and find out what's going on for the underperformance and identify areas that cannot be fixed. For example, like a PM change or analyst turnover or deviation from their philosophy, or execution and risk management if it's a failure. So if we identify areas that cannot be fixed or pose extreme problems for going forward, we will terminate this manager. So I would say that please do expect some changes in the portfolio.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Okay.
Sort of a follow-up question on the watch list. 2 quick questions. One, when we look at the description of the watch list, all these comparables are like a passive index typically, is in terms of the benchmarks. And then is everyone on this watch list considered then active management?
Yeah, these are active managers.
So then my question is, do we have, I mean, I know we get the bad list here, we'll call it. Do we also have, I don't want to say a comparable like good list, or a maybe more of a holistic view of active management, rather than it just singling out the underperformance, but also getting to see more of the full view, kind of in the focus space of active management?
We do look at the active space, active manager space in our annual public equity review. What we do is identify all the distribution of the performance of active managers against the benchmark and see where like the most percentage of managers outperform the benchmark. That's where we want to allocate our capital to. And we have this chart over time. For example, 60% of active managers in emerging markets outperform the benchmark on a 5-year rolling basis, versus like 20% of U.S. equity managers. So that gives us support to maybe hire more emerging markets active managers and being passive in the U.S. space. So we do have a more maybe broad view of how active managers will do. But looking at this current list, I think one theme we can see is a lot of them are growth managers. And this is not uncommon. So in the past, maybe 5 years ago, if you look at the underperformance list, many of the value managers on watch. So there's maybe sometimes style has a reason behind of the underperformance, but sometimes it's manager execution. So we try to identify what's causing the underperformance.
One other thing I'll mention about this page is it can be slightly misleading because trailing performance, especially over certain periods, is highly endpoint dependent. So if you have one bad quarter, so for instance, GQG is a manager that has really good performance over the long term. If you looked at every quarter back for the past 5 years, it's probably outperformed more quarters than it hasn't. It's on the watch list, but it had one period of significant underperformance, and that's going to drag down those trailing 3 and 5 year returns. And so just because it's on this page doesn't necessarily mean it's underperformed over the long term, and that's something to consider. This is a snapshot in time, and so those rolling periods and longer periods is something that we'll evaluate when we think about managers on the watch list. It's not just what you're seeing on this page.
If I can just add something to what Colin said, that's a good point. So I don't want anyone to be alarmed by a watch list. We only have a handful of active managers, and I'd like to think they're all on a watch list all the time. We are looking at these managers constantly. Christina has quarterly updates, follows those managers very closely. This is just meant to highlight, maybe watch list is not the right term for this, but it's managers who are underperforming at the current time or something like that. Because we have most of our assets are passively managed, and because we have a handful of active managers in asset classes where we think there's the potential for outperformance. So we only have a handful of those, and they're always, we always engage with them. And to Colin's point, it's very end time dependent, because one quarter's outperformance can then even change the 3-year number, right? But the point's well taken, and we're always looking at these things. We're always trying to figure out what the correct, I don't know if there's a fixed number between passive and active, but the default to us is always passive. And if we think that there's opportunity in active management, we pick managers who look very different from the benchmark, so high active share. And therefore, these are also managers who will tend to underperform by a lot if the market environment does not favor them.
Yeah. So I have a question. Would some of those active managers be looking at small cap stocks? Because I know that's a category that's been completely out of favor for the last 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, we have we have benchmarks for all these managers.
Yeah.
And so we do hold them to, their objectives and what the benchmarks are. And within small cap, Christina,
Sorry, your question, do we have a small cap active manager?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have one U.S. small cap active manager and one international small cap active manager.
And I just know that small caps in general have underperformed in the last 10 years, but in the long run, they tend to outperform the very, very long run. So.
Yeah, I mean, so there's two different questions there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so how have small caps done relative to large caps?
Right.
And small caps have underperformed because large caps have done extremely well, in the last decade or so, right? And from an asset allocation perspective is how we handle that, right? What percent should be in large cap versus small cap? And then there's a second question there is, how have our small cap managers done relative to their benchmark? So the benchmark could have done poorly, and what's the stock selection, performance of these small cap managers relative to that benchmark? And the fact that I'm assuming, and Christina, correct me if I'm wrong, that is I don't see a small cap manager in here.
Oberweis is an international small cap here.
Yeah. So we do have at least one underperforming small cap manager.
And another one, Burgundy, was more a recent hire, but 2025 was a very difficult year for a small cap active manager, because you see the index, what's really driving the index return on nonprofit or high leverage or just meme stocks. So, and these are not stocks that these investors would go into. And we've seen this back in 2020, where high beta names or highly shorted names gone up really significantly. And this manager underperformed by over 20% during that period, which we were not in that fund. But we have conviction in these managers. I think I do have a long-term positive view in small cap. Therefore, we do have these small cap managers and slight overweight to the index in small cap. I think when the market become more normalized and then on the upside, I think they will deliver very strong return.
Thank you.
I take your point that this is a binary presentation of underperformance or not underperformance, and that can be very misleading. So I wonder if in future presentations we might add some type of metric of your choosing to indicate the degree of underperformance or the length of time of underperformance. That would help us as trustees to judge how severely we should judge these names.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can add a note at the bottom that shows what makes, I don't know what the numbers are exactly, what threshold they have to cross on the downside before they get to the watch list.
We don't need to make that
Yeah.
judgment here and now, but at your discretion, what could provide a little bit further insight then for us.
Sure. The next few pages kind of point at, it's 3-year, 5-year, right, windows of underperformance, and it does give a nice, not necessarily an easy to read in the moment description, but definitely has a description of each one.
Okay. Right. Any further trustee questions or comments? Any public? Go ahead, Trustee Nakagawa.
One quick question. On page 38, I have a question. The total, or if you can comment, what is driving the performance difference, between the total fund aggregate and the low-cost passive portfolio? Those seem to be diverging a little bit.
Yeah, I can address that. A lot of that has to do with the conversation that we had earlier about passive indices really outperforming. It's been a market that's been driven by sort of large cap growth names. Yeah. For instance, in 2025, the S&P 500 returned, I think it was 18%. The Mag 7 names, and so that's your Meta, Google, et cetera, that was responsible for 50% of the S&P 500's return in 2025. Right. And so, and I think the biggest 10 names in the S&P 500 make up 30% of that index.
Right.
So you have a really top, and that's just in the US, but you have a really top heavy index, and so your low cost passive portfolio, which is investing in low cost index funds, has a really high exposure to those names. And so it has done really well. That benchmark has done really well in this environment. And then when you look at a more diversified portfolio in the sense that there's more active managers, it's been a really challenging period for a portfolio like that to outperform, just given what it's up against in terms of the concentration, because actually an active manager is going to have likely less exposure to those top 10 names than the index would. And so I think that's mostly what's responsible for the underperformance for this portfolio compared to the passive index.
All right, thank you.
And it's going to work in reverse. It should hopefully work in reverse if for something happens and that pattern sort of falls off. You might be in a better spot. So it's sort of the other side of that coin as well.
All right, any other trustee questions, comments, insights? Any public comment on this agenda item? There is none. Okay, can move forward to the Healthcare Trust.
Excellent. I'll go ahead and move quickly through this presentation. We've included all of our market slides again, but I'll start on page 25 with an executive summary of the Healthcare Trust. As of the end of 2025, the trust had $499.5 million in assets, and that's up from $485.5 as of the end of the prior quarter. $1.2 million in net cash inflows for the quarter. Most of the change in market value was a result of positive investment performance to the tune of $12.8 million in market value gains. And in return percentages, that was 2.6% for the quarter, compared to the policy benchmark, which was also 2.6. Over the 1 year period, the trust returned 17%, and that outperformed the policy benchmark, which returned 16.6%. Compared to peers, the Healthcare Trust is in the top quartile over every time period. And so some really good absolute results, taking advantage of strong capital markets, but also really good relative results for the Healthcare Trust through the end of 2025. Again, the same story, growth assets, public equity really drove results for this portfolio as well. Page 26 is the watch list. This portfolio has a higher allocation to passive index funds on the underlying exposure, so there's not nearly as many managers here, but a few to note. Here on page 27 is Artisan, and then two of the real estate funds. Jumping to the performance report on page 31 shows an allocation, current allocation compared to policy for assets. Every asset class is very close in line with policy, and so well within ranges, and we're happy with where the posture was at the end of the year. Page 32 shows trailing returns. I mentioned some really good positive results. The 1 year period, 17% for the Healthcare Trust. This trust has about 60% in public equities, and so in a market where public equities really drove results, having that high allocation helped, especially relative to other Healthcare Trust peers, which may have more in fixed income. Jumping to the back of our materials here, I'll put that into context with sort of compared to peers. Returns were in the top quartile over the 5 year period, but if you look at standard deviation, Sharpe ratio, Sorrentino ratio, there's going to be a higher standard deviation compared to peers for this portfolio, which is what you're seeing given the higher allocation to public equities. And that's all my prepared remarks. I'd be happy to take any broader questions on the Healthcare Trust at this point.
Great, thank you. Any questions from trustees? All right. Any public comment on this issue? There is none, so thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Right, we are up to item 3F, which is discussion action on pre-funding the city's retirement contribution. And we're going to hear from Mr. Jay Kwan.
Good morning. We're going to talk about pre-funding, one of my favorite things, just because I like the process. And I hate to spoil the ending, but we've heard informally that the city won't be pre-funding this year, and so we're just going to go through. We're going to go through the presentation. You're all going to pay attention, and we're going to approve the recommendation for the sake of continuity and process and consistency. And that's important because our counterparts at the city rely on us to be consistent with process as they do their planning earlier in the year. And so if they know what discount to expect, then they can do their fiscal planning a little earlier. So I hear you might want to, you could probably ask a subject matter expert on that a little bit later.
Well, I was going to ask you before you get started, did the city already make its conclusion because it knows our process is so consistent and they anticipated what we would be offering?
I think that's the case.
Yeah, okay.
They know that we have a consistent methodology. We've been following it for over a decade. And you've all been very good about following that methodology.
Yeah, it's meant to be a transparent and open
Yeah.
process, but of course, the board has the final say, and you can always choose to change the methodology. But, you know, we've always stuck to we made the last 10 years, we made one tweak, but that was well in advance of this meeting.
And just out of curiosity, you say the decision has been made with respect to Federated
And police and fire.
and police and fire, and was that a different decision for police and fire?
Yeah.
They are independent decisions. This year, the city, again, informally, is not pre-funding either plan.
No, okay.
And last year, I believe they pre-funded PNF and not us.
I believe
Yes.
that's correct.
Okay, yeah.
So
Okay.
just broad strokes, the city as a sponsor will be contributing a little bit over $244 million for the pension for Tier 1 and 2, and another $24.5 million for the OPEB. So if they were to pre-fund, and if they did receive the full discount, they would have saved about $6.7 million or so for pre-funding Tier 1 of the pension, and a further $700,000 for pre-funding OPEB. And that's, again, if they were to receive the entirety of the discount. But our methodology says that if we hit one of 3 triggers, then the board reduces the discount offered to the city for pre-funding. And if that happens in successive years, so this would be the second year running that we've hit one of those triggers, then the discount is reduced every year by an incremental 15%. And so the second year running, we're reducing the discount by 30%. So the discount is a discount rate for the plan. That's the base. It's 6 5/8. Reduced by 30%, it would be 4.6375%. Sorry, any questions?
And at what date do we make the determination of the triggers? Is that end of calendar year?
No,
Something?
that's actually marked as of September.
Okay. So with changes in the market, we may not be approaching a third year of these triggers.
One of the changes, or one of the triggers still is valuation, and it's still pretty high.
Okay. Any questions either about the valuation or about the absolute value of the pre-funding? And I think very often the city makes a decision on pre-funding based on other budgetary considerations, not necessarily on the discount rate that we offer, but it's obviously it's a holistic decision.
Yeah, so I've heard, but I think one of the comparisons is the market, the yields available in short-term investment markets. So the kind of the opportunity cost of funding us early instead of putting it in
That makes
CCP.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there, if there's no other trustee comment, I would entertain a motion then to accept the pre-funding plan for this year.
And to present it to the city
Yes.
after they've
For
already
their
rejected.
consideration.
I'll move to approve.
Very good. We have a motion from Vice Chair Faulkner. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Trustee Abbott. Is there any public comment on this item? There is none. Is there any further trustee comment? If not, we will move to a vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
I'm going to recuse.
Okay. Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
And Chair votes aye, so the pre-funding is approved.
It's a weird thing to vote on.
Well,
We
it's
have
all
to-
about process.
I understand why Trustee Chi had to. I was thinking of doing it for a different reason, but it is.
Okay. It passes with or without your vote in any case.
True.
So,
As is often the case.
we can then proceed to agenda item 5E. Thank you. This is adoption and an updated city policy manual. This is a series of policy manual updates that we will vote on, E, F, G, and H. I believe the CEO will address these issues.
Sure. So the next 4 items are the board's adoption of city policy. just a reminder of our process. Administration reviews these policies, and then if we recommend board's approval, we put them, we take them directly to the boards. And if we have concerns, we would have referred them to the governance committee. I will note that at the governance committee yesterday, I did propose a change to this process, but we'll talk about it during the governance update. The first item is for city and personal vehicles. This doesn't have a strong application to ORS because we don't use city vehicles. So the updates are not applicable to ORS, but nonetheless, as a city employee, we're recommending adoption.
Okay.
Should we approve these all at once? Or can we-
No, you have to
Now I
take
gotta
them
do them
separately.
each individually. I was thinking that too.
Okay, it would be efficient, but efficiency is not always our North Star. Any trustee comments on adopting this policy as ORS policy?
I'll make a motion to accept it as ORS, the city policy as ORS policy.
Thank you. That's from trustee Chandra. Is there a second? Second from trustee Abbott. Any public comment on this issue? There is none. Any further trustee comments? If not, we can vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. It is adopted. Move on to the next city policy, which is military leave policy.
Is there some explanation required, or can I make?
Just short explanation of the update, clarification in the policy was made so that travel outside of the 30-day paid military leave period that are needed, employees no longer are required to use their own leave, but may choose to use their own leave or go on unpaid military leave.
Okay.
I make a motion to adopt the city policy on military leave for ORS.
Thank you. That's a motion from trustee Chandra. Looks like
I
we have a
second.
second from trustee Abbott. Any public comment on this policy? There is none. Any further trustee comment? We can vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. And now we move on to city policy on food and beverage expenditure for non-travel. Anything of note here that we need to consider?
Quick update, the maximum for employee use for employee appreciation events has been increased from $35 to $40 per employee. And so the policy is an update to reflect that.
Okay, great. If there's no trustee comment, I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt the city policy as ORS policy for food and beverage expenditure.
Very good. That's from trustee Chandra. Do we have a second? Trustee Abbott got in there. And any public comment? There is none. Any further trustee comments? We can vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. And finally, the procurement card, P-card policy, has been updated at the city. Anything that we need to understand about this specific policy?
Yes, so the thresholds for use for P-card is now $15,000. We're also authorized to purchase gift cards, which we were not allowed to purchase before, and purchase that requires signing of or execution of agreement or contract, including the conditions of use, may now be purchased using P-cards. Again, all appropriate procurement requirements still need to be followed, but it's basically changing of some of the threshold and the removal of some restrictions.
Okay, very good. If there's no trustee questions or comments, we will entertain a motion.
I was preparing for my committee remarks.
Okay.
I'll move to approve.
We
I'll
had a
move to
rhythm
approve.
going, and then you just
sorry.
blew it out of the water.
I'll move to approve.
I needed to anticipate.
I mentioned the committee, and all of a sudden, everybody panicked.
Exactly.
Okay, so we did have a motion from Vice Chair Faulkner and a second from Trustee Abbott. Is there any public comment on this item? There is none. Any further trustee comment? There is none. We will vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. This policy is also adopted for ORS. Moving on to committee reports. Investment Committee, it looks like they last met March 12th.
Yep.
Is there an update from the chair?
Yeah, very brief update. So we met, actually, more was covered here today in the board meeting in terms of portfolio updates than we received, but we did elect a vice chair. We welcomed Trustee Abbott and elected her vice chair. Quite a first meeting. And then we had presentations on the transaction costs that we bear on Forex in our portfolios. It's always interesting. And we heard the same pre-funding retirement presentation that Jay gave us today, and a risk and a risk overview from Veris, and everything is in order. We're within policy.
Okay, very good. Any trustee questions, comments? Any public comment? Okay, there's no action required, but we will receive and file the minutes.
Please.
And now on to the Audit Risk Committee. Chair Linder, we did have a meeting on February 19th. Would you like to comment?
19th, we meet again in May. We have a long list of things here that's all attached that I believe require some approval. We do have a vice chair. Trustee Chi will be our vice chair going forward. And I think the rest is in the attachments. I'm happy to try to discuss anything that doesn't make any sense. We're off and running with Baker Tilly as our internal auditor.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we got up there. Yeah. So I will leave it to the board here. I think we can take action where need be. Let me see, we need to approve the fourth quarter 2025 travel and attendance reports. And I think the rest is discussion.
I don't think there's a second action on the Baker Tilly.
So the actions listed here are for the oral update. The only action for the board today is under 6.2C, which is the acceptance of the 7 internal audit recommendations.
Right, so the bullets under A were the discussion and actions taken at.
Okay.
So that's an aid to memory to what was discussed and done at the audit committee. So we will receive and file the minutes, which is agenda item B. I guess I first need to ask if there's any public comment on the oral report. There is none. Any other trustee questions on the oral report? None. We will receive and file the minutes, and we do have discussion and action to accept the 7 internal audit recommendations and mark them as complete in the absence of an internal auditor.
Well, I don't want to preempt discussion, but I've read them, and I'm comfortable making a motion to accept.
Is there any other trustee questions? Okay, so we do then have a motion on the floor from Trustee Chandra. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Oh.
Go ahead, no.
I heard Trustee Nakagawa first, so we're going to give that one to him. Any public comment on the internal auditor? Okay, any further trustee questions or comment? There is none, so we can vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. And now we are on to the Governance Committee. It looks like we met just yesterday.
Yes,
Is there an oral update from the chair?
yes, there is.
Okay.
And I just want to say we have 2 active members of the governance committee, Trustee Nakagawa and Trustee Chi, and Trustee Chi's been named our vice chair.
Okay, sounds like he's taking up a lot of vice chairmanship.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And it was a really interesting conversation that we had, and we reviewed 3 policies that will come to the board next month to review. It was a joint governance committee, and they'd already had the police and fire meeting that morning. And then we had 3 other policies or actions that we're going to review later. So it was an introduction of those things. And the three things that we reviewed and provided feedback on were the policy framework and work plan. So, and it really provides a framework for us to look at all the policies we had. I was surprised at how many policies there are. It's like 34. And the work plan allowed for like 42 for us to do over review. The big change was that we're going to go from a 5-year review cycle to a 3-year review cycle, assuming that we can, in fact, manage all of that. And we'll have a little bit of flexibility. Amanda did an amazing job of putting all of that together. I was really impressed. And then in terms of the policies that you'll see next time, we looked at the policy on policies. So that was like, how do we actually go about structuring policies and making sure that they're consistent, and then there's a standardized form for our policies so that things become really more uniform. You'll hear more about that. Let me see. I wrote the other one down. I don't see what? Oh, yeah, public comment. So what our own chair does very well in terms of, announcing public comment and how long we have, but we're making that a formal policy. And then, what was our other one? Okay, now I wrote it. Oh, I wrote it right here. I've got it. And the third one was we wanted to delegate authority to the CEO to approve policies that didn't have a direct impact on the board, like the ones we did today. And so that was a recommendation that the governance committee had made as well. So I think that probably everyone would appreciate that.
Yes, and
I
that last
just
one.
said I like that one.
Yeah, so that was
And
our
that will
third.
come up in the April
Correct.
That'll be
meeting?
in the April.
So that is drafted as what am I trying to say? A motion. When we were also scheduled to do the CEO, CIO charters in Q3. So we'll take it as a motion because it'll be somewhat temporary, and then we'll embed that into and any other delegations of authority that the boards have taken either by motion or resolution in the past. We'll incorporate all of those into to the charters themselves, where we have that centralized piece. So it is, I think the important part for the delegation is not because I'm looking to take the authority away from the policymaking board that you are, but it helps us bridge the gap, a governance gap for a policy that, say, is passed by city council or by city administration, say, weeks ago. It lessens the gap so that our staff know which policy to follow, so there isn't a governance risk. And then it also, I know there was some comment before about efficiency, it also allows us to move these items into the consent agenda so that the boards can approve them either in bulk or to pull them so that we can have individual discussion and potential referral to some other committee if needed.
We always have the option to pull from consent.
Always.
If any trustee wishes to do so. Excellent, so there's no minutes to receive.
I have a couple more things that we did. So Aon presented their overall plan for how they would go about doing some of the policies, and they talked about reviewing, aligning, and strengthening what we're doing, providing oversight and accountability, and looking at risk management. So that's one of the things I actually brought in up today. And what we're going to look at, and the structure is we'll look at 3 policies each week that will then, each time we meet, that we'll actually bring to the board the next time. And they gave us a preview of 3 more things. And those 3 more things were the Board of Administration charter, so the charter for the boards, and trying to bring one that's consistent across both boards. And then you mentioned the CEO and the CIO evaluation process. And so we provided some early feedback to Aon. They'll go make some adjustments. They'll work with legal, and then come back with what they would recommend. It'll come back to the governance committee the next time we meet, and then it'll come to the board after that. So is it a good structure, I think, in terms of having a way to move things along and some interesting ideas that happened. So I think it was a very good meeting and good questions, good participation.
Excellent, excellent.
One comment, I guess, for John. In the meeting that came up yesterday, there's a potential change to the general comment part. Would that be this the time to mention it? The timing of when that would happen, the 3-minute part.
So what legal counsel is about to say is that we're not agendized to discuss that.
Okay.
But what we did discuss yesterday was bringing some of the language back to Reed Smith, so that when we bring the policy to the boards next month, we'll have some revised language, and then we can discuss it then.
Yeah.
Okay, be fully vetted.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, looking forward to that. Anything else then to report?
That was it.
Other trustee questions? Any public comment on this agenda item? There's none. Very good. We'll move on to item 6.5, Joint Personnel Committee.
Disability?
I'm sorry, Disability Committee, 6.4. Keep skipping these guys.
Quick report, nothing. We canceled the April meeting because there weren't, I guess I'll take a moment to say kudos to Sandra and the team at all times. You all saw some of the disability process earlier this year at a board meeting, but they always work really hard to get through them, and occasionally there's nothing to see until May, so we don't have to do an April meeting.
Okay, great. And then we now, any public comment on that item? There's none. Any trustee questions? None. Joint Personnel Committee, and they last met in January, so we haven't had a recent meeting, but we will have one on April 1st. Does the chair have anything to report there?
I was hoping that we would stop meeting for a long period of time, but we do have some business we need to conduct on April Fools, and we will report out thereafter.
The irony of that is not
Okay. The hats will be distributed to all committee members.
Maybe even T-shirts.
Any trustee questions then on the JPC? Any public comment? There is none. Item 7, Education and Training. Looks like a wide range of potential trainings. Are there any proposed agenda items? Hearing none,
Before you adjourn, sorry, I know.
Okay.
So
close.
On a previous agenda item, on consent agenda 1.2.c, I would be remiss if I didn't give Barbara an opportunity to say a few comments about one of the retirees from our fund.
Okay, very good.
Appreciate the opportunity to recognise May and her service. I've got to say, May doesn't like to be the centre of attention, but I thought it was fitting to acknowledge her long service to the boards and the members publicly. And so I'd like to thank her. She's going to be retiring next week, later this month, for her dedication and long service to the Office of Retirement Services. May joined the ORSIT team in October 2000 as an information systems analyst and has served the boards and our members for over 25 years. I had the pleasure of working alongside May for many of those years in the IT team. She's a highly respected member of our ORS family. She's known for her deep knowledge, positive attitude, and the care she brings to supporting both staff and members. She'll be greatly missed.
Nice.
Great, thank you.
Barbara.
And we wish her well in retirement, obviously well-deserved. Any public comment or trustee comment on that last item? And then, without further ado, we are adjourned.
Yay.
11:41.
Recording stopped.